My name is Ethan Harper, 24 years old, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. Our family home is a modest two-story house on a tree-lined street, the kind of place where everyone knows their neighbors but keeps to themselves. It is just the three of us now, me, my older sister Lauren, who is 26 and still single, and our stepmother Sarah. My biological father passed away 8 years ago in a tragic car accident on the icy highways of Interstate 5. Dad was hospitalized for months before he finally slipped away. The medical bills wiped out every penny of savings we had, leaving us in a financial hole that has taken years to climb out of. After high school, I gave up on college dreams and took a job at a small manufacturing plant on the outskirts of the city. The paycheck is barely enough to keep the lights on and food on the table. Sarah and Lauren have not been able to find steady work, so we have gently encouraged Lauren to find a partner who could help ease the burden. Let me describe them a little. Lauren is slender, with striking features and long dark hair. She has always been the strict older sister bossy, quick to scold me for the smallest things. The poverty weighs heavily on her. She carries a quiet resentment about it. Sarah, my stepmother, is 45 now. She is curvaceous, pleasantly plump in a way that suits her tall frame. Even though money has been tight, she always manages to smile, keeping an optimistic outlook that lifts the rest of us. But since Dad died, I have noticed moments when her cheer fades into deep sadness. I thought it was grief for him, or worry about Lauren's future. Sarah is still an attractive woman, mature and warm, but I never thought of her in any way other than maternal. I am an adult now, fully aware of my own desires. Finding a serious girlfriend feels impossible with our money situation, so I have had a casual fling with a neighbor girl, Emily. We have hooked up a few times in the house when no one was home. Still, I often catch Sarah sitting alone, staring into space with a melancholy expression. I have tried everything to cheer her up, taking the family out for burgers at a local diner, grabbing takeout pizza on weekends, or just driving around the Puget Sound area for a change of scenery. Nothing seemed to shake her out of it for long. One Friday afternoon, Lauren was out shopping with friends, and I was supposed to be at work. But I felt under the weather, nothing serious, just a headache and fatigue, so I called in sick and headed home early. On the way, I stopped by a nearby lake trail, checking spots where I sometimes fish on weekends to improve our meals. I picked up some fresh produce from a roadside stand, planning a simple grilled dinner. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was quiet. I figured Sarah might be napping or out running errands. Carrying the groceries inside, I set them on the kitchen counter. Lauren's room was empty. Then I approached Sarah's bedroom door. It was closed but not locked. Strange sounds were coming from inside, soft, rhythmic noises that made my heart skip. Worried it might be an intruder, I pushed the door open without knocking. What I saw froze me in place. Sarah was standing near the bed, completely bottomless, her underwear discarded on the floor. In her hand was a large cucumber from the kitchen, clearly being used for something very private. Her eyes were closed, head tilted back, face flushed with approaching climax. The vegetable slipped from her grasp and thudded to the carpet just as she realized I was there. Her eyes snapped open in horror. Color drained from her face, then rushed back in a wave of embarrassment. She was too far gone to stop immediately. Her body trembled as the moment passed. We stood there, staring at each other in stunned silence for what felt like minutes but was probably only seconds. Tears welled in her eyes as shame overwhelmed her. She grabbed a robe, covering herself hastily, sobbing quietly. I backed out of the room, mumbling apologies, and retreated to my own bedroom, slamming the door. My heart pounded like I would run a marathon. Lying on the bed, I tried to process what I would just witnessed. Sarah was a woman with needs. Dad had been gone nearly a decade. It was natural, human. Still, seeing my stepmother like that was shocking. Part of me felt guilty for intruding. Another part could not unsee her vulnerability. After a while, I heard her moving around, but she stayed locked in her room. When Lauren came home an hour later, asking why I was back early, I made excuses about feeling sick. Sarah emerged eventually, pretending she had been napping, avoiding eye contact with me entirely. Dinner that night was tense. She barely looked up from her plate, clearly terrified I might tell Lauren. The next day was Saturday, no work for me. An icy silence hung between Sarah and me. She busied herself with chores, still not meeting my gaze. I prepared a weekend barbecue in the backyard, cleaning the grill and marinating some cheap cuts of meat. Sarah helped silently, occasionally offering a shy smile that hinted at her old warmth trying to resurface. Around mid-morning, Lauren went to take a long shower. Sarah approached me in the kitchen, face flushed, eyes on the floor. "Ethan," she whispered, "can we talk about yesterday?" I nodded, knowing exactly what she meant. She took a deep breath. "I am so sorry you saw that. Please forgive me. It won't happen again. And please, do not tell Lauren, she would never understand." She explained how lonely she would been, how Dad's death left a void no one could fill. At her age, desires did not just disappear. She could not date openly, it would complicate everything with the family, the neighbors. Using something from the kitchen was a desperate, private act born of frustration. "I am still a woman, Ethan. I have needs. Please do not think badly of me." I felt deep sympathy. "Sarah, I understand. Dad's been gone a long time. You are young and beautiful, it is normal. I won't say a word to anyone, and honestly, it was my fault for not knocking." Her relief was visible. She hugged me briefly, tears in her eyes again. The air between us lightened, the awkwardness easing into something almost conspiratorial. The barbecue that Saturday afternoon went better than expected. The awkwardness from the previous day lingered, but Sarah's shy smiles grew warmer as we flipped burgers and chatted about harmless things like the rainy Seattle weather and Lauren's latest job interview. When Lauren finally emerged from her shower and joined us outside, everything felt almost normal again. That evening, after Lauren headed out to meet friends at a downtown bar, Sarah and I were alone in the house. I was watching a Seahawks rerun on TV when she quietly sat beside me on the couch, still looking embarrassed. Without meeting my eyes, she handed back the electric grooming trimmer I would lent her earlier, something I would jokingly offered after our kitchen talk. Used it," she whispered, cheeks burning red. "Thank you, Ethan. It worked really well." I smiled, trying to keep things light. "Glad it helped. Does it do the job properly? No irritation or anything?" She fidgeted with the hem of her sweater, clearly mortified, but also relieved to have someone to talk to. "It is perfect. Better than anything your dad ever bought me. It has been years since I took care of things down there. Everything had gotten a little overgrown. But now it is smooth again. Clean. I feel better." Hearing her say it out loud sent an unexpected jolt through me. I shifted on the couch, suddenly hyper-aware of her closeness. "Good. Seriously, Sarah, you deserve to feel good. And if you need a new one, I will pick one up, no big deal." She finally looked at me, eyes soft with gratitude. "You are so kind to me. I do not know what I would do without you." Then, almost too quietly to hear, "Your dad was very passionate. Every day, sometimes twice. I got used to that kind of attention. After he was gone, I tried to ignore it, but the need never really went away. It just built up." I swallowed hard. "I get it. You are still young. Beautiful. It is not fair you have had to go through this alone for so long." Her hand rested lightly on my knee, a maternal gesture that somehow felt different now. "Thank you for understanding. And for not judging me." We sat in silence for a moment, the TV murmuring in the background. When Lauren texted that she would be home late, the house felt even quieter. The next morning, Sunday, I woke up early and drove to the local Target before it got busy. I bought a new ladies' electric trimmer, the best one they had, along with some fresh vegetables for dinner. I also picked up a couple of large organic cucumbers from the produce section, remembering how embarrassed she would been about using kitchen items. When I got home, Lauren was still asleep, and Sarah was in the kitchen making coffee. I handed her the grocery bag discreetly. "Got what you asked for," I said with a small grin. She peeked inside, saw the cucumbers, and immediately blushed crimson. "Ethan, you did not have to. You said you needed them," I teased gently. And these are the biggest, firmest ones they had. Thought they would work better. Her eyes widened. Then she laughed a real, warm laugh that lit up her whole face. You are terrible, she whispered, but there was no anger in it. Only flustered amusement. Later that afternoon, Lauren announced she was heading to a friend's lake cabin for an overnight trip and would not be back until Monday evening. As soon as her car pulled out of the driveway, Sarah closed the front door, turned the deadbolt, and looked at me with a mix of nervousness and something else I could not quite name. Ethan, did you really get those cucumbers for that reason? I shrugged, trying to play it cool even though my pulse was racing. I figured it is safer than kitchen stuff. Cleaner. And yeah, I got the biggest ones. Though. I hesitated, then decided to lean into the joke. They are still not as big as. Well, me. The words hung in the air. I expected her to scold me, change the subject, anything but what happened next. Sarah's mouth parted slightly in surprise. She stared at me for a long moment, eyes flicking down briefly before meeting mine again. You are joking, she said softly, almost challenging. I am really not. A slow flush spread across her chest and neck. She bit her lower lip the same way I would seen her do when she was thinking hard about something. Your dad was very well endowed. Tall guy, big build. I just assumed you took after your mom's side more. Smaller frame. I did not, I said quietly. The silence stretched, charged with something new and dangerous. She shifted her weight, hands clasped in front of her. You are my stepson, Ethan. We should not even be talking like this. I know. But neither of us moved away. Finally, she spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. If you are telling the truth, maybe you should prove it. So I stopped wondering. My heart slammed against my ribs. This was crossing a line we could never uncross. But the look in her eyes, lonely, curious, hungry after years of denial, was impossible to ignore. I stood slowly, hands trembling as I unbuckled my belt. She did not stop me. Did not look away. When I lowered my jeans and boxers, letting everything spring free, her sharp inhale told me everything I needed to know. Oh my God, she breathed. You really are. Just like him, maybe even. She trailed off, eyes fixed, lips parted. The resemblance clearly struck her hard memories of my dad mixing with the reality in front of her. I tried to make light of it. Told you. 25 centimeters on a good day. She let out a shaky laugh, stepping closer without seeming to realize it. It is. Exactly the same color. The shape. If I close my eyes. Her voice cracked. Then quietly, would you let me touch it, just once, so I know it is real? So I can remember what it felt like to be wanted. I could not speak. I just nodded. Her hand trembled as she reached out, fingers brushing the length of me. The contact sent electricity through my entire body. She traced it slowly, reverently, like she was reconnecting with a lost part of herself. It is warmer than I remember, she whispered. Tears welled in her eyes, not from shame, but from overwhelming emotion. I have missed this so much. The room felt too bright, too real. I was about to suggest we stop, that this was too far, when every light in the house suddenly flickered and died. A winter storm had knocked out the power common in Seattle this time of year. The sudden darkness swallowed us both. In that moment, something shifted. All the careful boundaries we would been dancing around vanished. I heard the soft rustle of fabric. Felt her press against me skin on skin. She would strip down to just her thin cotton panties in seconds. Ethan, she murmured against my ear, voice thick with need. Just once. Please. Let me feel alive again. In the pitch-black living room, with the storm howling outside, Sarah's words hung between us like a forbidden promise. Her body pressed against mine, soft and warm, her breath hot on my neck. I could feel the rapid beat of her heart mirroring my own. Just once, she repeated, her voice a desperate plea. My hands found her waist instinctively, pulling her closer. The darkness made it easier, less real, like a dream we could both wake from without consequences. Her lips brushed mine first, tentative at first, then hungry. Years of pent-up longing poured out as she kissed me deeply, her fingers tangling in my hair. I responded in kind, the taste of her sweet, salty from unshed tears igniting something primal. She guided my hand lower, past the waistband of her panties, which were already damp with anticipation. "Touch me," she whispered. "Like he used to." I did, gently at first, exploring the slick heat between her thighs. She gasped, arching into my palm, her nails digging into my shoulders. The cucumber incident flashed in my mind. This was what she would been craving, but real flesh and blood. Her hips bucked as I found her rhythm, circling and pressing until she shuddered against me, a soft cry escaping her lips. But she was not done. With surprising strength, she pushed me back onto the couch, straddling my lap in the dark. Her panties came off in a swift motion, landing somewhere on the floor. She positioned herself above me, guiding me inside her with a slow, deliberate slide. The sensation was overwhelming, tight, wet, welcoming after so long alone for her. "Oh, Ethan. You are perfect," she moaned, beginning to move. We rocked together in the blackout, the storm masking our sounds. She rode me with an urgency that spoke of deprivation, her full breasts bouncing against my chest. I gripped her hips, thrusting up to meet her, lost in the taboo ecstasy. When she clenched around me, climaxing again, it pushed me over the edge. I spilled into her, holding her tight as waves of pleasure crashed through us both. We collapsed together, breathing ragged. The power flickered back on minutes later, bathing us in harsh light. Sarah looked at me, eyes wide with a mix of satisfaction and fear. "We can't tell anyone," she said, pulling a throw blanket over us. "Especially not Lauren." "I know," I replied, stroking her hair. "It was incredible." She smiled faintly, nestling against me. "It was. But just this once, okay, to get it out of our systems." Except it was not just once. The next morning, with Lauren still away at her friend's cabin, Sarah woke me with coffee in bed. She was wearing only a silk robe, loosely tied, revealing glimpses of her curves. "About last night," she started, sitting on the edge of the mattress. I set the mug aside and pulled her down beside me. "No regrets?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "None. You made me feel wanted again. Alive." Her hand trailed down my chest, under the sheets. "But Lauren will be back soon. We have to be careful." We were not careful enough that morning. What started as a kiss turned into another round, slower this time, exploratory. I kissed my way down her body, tasting her skin, lingering between her legs until she writhed and begged. Then she returned the favor, her mouth warm and eager, bringing me to the brink before we joined again. By noon, we would done it twice more in the shower, water cascading over us, and once in the kitchen while preparing lunch. Each time, she whispered comparisons to my dad, how I was gentler, more attentive. It fueled me, making me want to erase her loneliness completely. "You are my good boy," she would say, holding me close afterward. "Thank you for this." When Lauren returned that evening, we acted normal dinner. TV, small talk. But Sarah's foot brushed mine under the table, a secret signal. Her smiles were brighter, the sadness gone from her eyes. Over the next few days, with Lauren around, our interactions stayed innocent on the surface. But the flirtation built in stolen moments. In the laundry room, she would press against me while folding clothes, whispering, "I can't stop thinking about you." I would reply with a quick kiss, hands roaming briefly before we heard footsteps. One evening, after Lauren went to bed early with a headache, Sarah slipped into my room. "I need you," she said simply, shedding her nightgown. We made love quietly, muffling our moans with pillows. Afterward, lying tangled in sheets, she confessed more. "Your dad and I were insatiable. Every night. I miss that connection. I will be that for you," I promised, "as long as you want." She traced patterns on my chest. "But we have to stop eventually. This can't go on forever." Deep down, I knew she did not mean it. The way her body responded, the glow on her face, it was addictive for both of us. A week later, opportunity struck again. Lauren announced a weekend trip to Portland for a job fair. "I will be gone until Sunday night," she said over breakfast. Sarah's eyes met mine across the table, a spark igniting. As soon as Lauren's car disappeared down the street, Sarah locked the door and turned to me with a mischievous grin. We have the house to ourselves. We did not waste time. Clothes came off in the hallway, leading to a trail to the living room. She pushed me onto the couch, kneeling between my legs. "Let me show you how grateful I am," she purred, taking me into her mouth with expert skill. I groaned, fingers in her hair, as she worked me over. Then it was my turn. I laid her back, spreading her legs, using my tongue and fingers until she was trembling. "Ethan." Now, she gasped. I entered her slowly, savoring every inch. We moved together, building to a crescendo that left us both spent. But the weekend was just beginning. We spent hours exploring trying positions we would only fantasized about. In her bed, the one she would shared with Dad, it felt strangely right. "You are better than him in some ways," she admitted during a break, feeding me grapes like we were lovers on vacation. "More stamina. More. Creative." I laughed, pulling her on top. Practice makes perfect. By Saturday night, we would lost count 4, 5 times. The house smelled of us, sheets rumpled everywhere. In the bath together, bubbles hiding our bodies, she leaned back against me. "I have not been this happy in years." "Me neither," I said, soaping her shoulders. But a nagging thought crept in. What if Lauren found out? Or worse, what if this ended? Sunday morning, we woke tangled, making love one last time before cleaning up. Lauren texted she was on her way back. Sarah kissed me deeply. Our secret. Forever. As the days turned into weeks, our affair deepened. Stolen glances at dinner, quickies when Lauren was out. Sarah bloomed, her laughter filled the house, her step lighter. I felt like a man for the first time, protective and desired. But secrets have a way of unraveling. One afternoon, while Sarah napped, a knock came at the door. An older couple stood there, holding documents. "We are looking for Ethan Harper," the woman said, her eyes filling with tears. "We're your biological parents." The knock at the door came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in early spring. Sarah was upstairs folding laundry, humming softly to herself, the happiest I would heard her in years. I opened the door to find an older couple on the porch, a woman in her late 60s with kind blue eyes and silver-streaked hair, and a man beside her holding a thick envelope. Both looked nervous, hopeful. "Are you Ethan Harper?" the woman asked, voice trembling. "Yes. Can I help you?" She took a step forward, tears already spilling. "My name is Rebecca Harper. This is my husband, Daniel. We're your biological parents." The world tilted. I gripped the doorframe, staring at the documents they handed me: birth records, DNA test results, old photographs. A story unfolded that sounded like something from a movie. Rebecca had been a young Army nurse stationed in Vietnam during the war. She met my biological father, Daniel A.U.S., Army doctor at a field hospital near the Cambodian border. They fell in love quickly, intensely. When she discovered she was pregnant with me in 1972, the war made everything impossible. Daniel was reassigned. Rebecca was sent home early due to complications. She gave birth to me in California, but could not keep me. Her family disowned her for the war baby, and she was too young, too broke. Through contacts in the military, they arranged for me to be adopted quietly by a Vietnamese Army doctor and his wife who had lost their own child. That doctor was the man I would always call Dad, the one who'd raised me, loved me, died on I-5 8 years ago. His second wife, Sarah, had become my stepmother after my adoptive mother passed away young. Daniel spoke softly. "We never stopped looking. When the DNA databases opened up to international matches last year, your sample from one of those ancestry kits you did for fun flagged immediately. We flew in from Florida as soon as we got the confirmation." Sarah appeared behind me then, drawn by the voices. She took one look at Rebecca's tear-streaked face, the photos of a younger Daniel who looked eerily like an older version of me, and understood. Her hand flew to her mouth. All 4 of us ended up in the living room, talking for hours. Rebecca cried when she hugged me for the first time. Daniel showed me pictures of their life, 3 half-siblings I would never known grandchildren. They were not here to disrupt anything, they said. They just wanted to know me, to offer me a place in their family if I wanted it. By evening, Lauren had come home and joined the stunned circle. She stared at the evidence, then at me, piecing it together. So, Sarah is not actually your stepmom by blood. No, I said quietly. She was Dad's second wife. I am. Adopted. The realization settled over Sarah like a wave. All this time, the guilt she would carried, the fear that what we would done was unforgivable lifted slightly. We were not related by blood. The taboo was not as absolute as we would believed. Rebecca and Daniel stayed in Seattle for a week, taking me to dinner, walking the waterfront, sharing stories. They invited me to visit Florida, to meet the rest of the family. I promised I would. On their last night, after they would gone back to their hotel, Sarah and I were alone again. Lauren had crashed early, overwhelmed by the day's revelations. Sarah stood at the kitchen window, watching rain streak the glass. All those months, she said softly, I kept telling myself we were monsters. That I would take an advantage of my own stepson. But you were never really mine to begin with, not like that. I came up behind her, wrapping my arms around her waist. Does it change anything for you? She turned in my arms, eyes searching mine. It changes everything. And nothing. I still love what we have had these past months. The happiness you gave me. But now I do not have to hate myself for it quite as much. We kissed then slow, deep, no longer shadowed by quite the same guilt. That night, in her bed, we made love with a new kind of freedom. No rushing, no hiding. She whispered my name like a prayer, tears of relief mixing with pleasure. I thought I would lose you when the truth came out, she confessed afterward, head on my chest. That you would go to America and forget me. I could never forget you, I told her, stroking her hair. You saved me as much as I saved you. The affair continued through the spring-stolen afternoons, late nights when Lauren was out. Sarah's glow became permanent. Neighbors commented on how youthful she looked. I finished my associate's degree online, started applying to universities with the financial help Rebecca and Daniel offered. In June, I booked a flight to Florida. Sarah drove me to SeaTac Airport. We held each other in the parking garage, tears in both our eyes. This is not goodbye, I said fiercely. I will be back for holidays. For summers. And when I finish school, I will figure out a way for us to be together properly. She smiled through her tears. I will be waiting. You gave me back my life, Ethan. I can wait as long as it takes. On the plane, watching the Seattle clouds part below me, I thought of Sarah, her warmth, her laughter, the way she would blossomed from loneliness into joy. I thought of the man who'd raised me, whose memory I would honored in the most unexpected way. And I thought of the new family waiting in Florida, blood ties I would never known. I was American by birth, Vietnamese by heart, carrying both worlds inside me. And no matter where I went next, a part of me would always belong to that quiet house in Seattle, to the woman who'd taught me that love could heal even the deepest wounds, even when it arrived in the most forbidden form. Years later, when people ask about my complicated origins, I smile and keep it simple. But in my heart, I carry Sarah's secret smile, her whispered thank you, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest happiness comes from the most unlikely places. Life moved forward in unexpected ways after that week with Rebecca and Daniel. I visited Florida twice that first year, Thanksgiving and summer break, meeting my half-siblings, nieces, and nephews. They welcomed me like I would always been part of the family. Rebecca cried every time she hugged me goodbye at the airport. Daniel taught me to fish in the Gulf, told me stories about the war, about the young nurse who stole his heart in a jungle hospital. I learned I had his height, his stubborn streak, even his laugh. But Seattle was still home. Sarah was still home. We kept our promise to be careful. Texts during the day when I was at community college classes. Late-night calls when Lauren was asleep. Weekend errands that turned into afternoons at a quiet motel off Aurora Avenue, where we could be loud and unhurried. She would greet me at the door in lingerie bought just for me, or sometimes nothing at all, pulling me inside with a hunger that never seemed to fade. "You are my addiction," she would whisper against my skin. "I count the hours until I see you." I felt the same. School, part-time work at the plant, visits to Florida, none of it dulled what we had. If anything, the distance made the reunions more intense. Sarah changed too. She started taking online classes in bookkeeping, landed a remote job that paid better than anything she would had before. The house felt lighter. Lauren noticed, asked if Sarah was seeing someone. Sarah laughed it off, just finally moving on. Honey and Lauren let it go. 2 years passed like that. I graduated with an associate's degree, transferred to the University of Washington with scholarships Rebecca helped secure. I moved into a small apartment near campus, but I was at the house almost every weekend. One spring evening in 2025, I came over for dinner. Lauren was out on a date finally, someone serious. Sarah and I had the place to ourselves. After dishes, we ended up on the back deck, watching the sunset over the Sound. She leaned against me, head on my shoulder. "I turned 48 last month," she said quietly. "Sometimes I look in the mirror and wonder how I got so lucky. After everything. I have you." I kissed the top of her head. "You deserve it. All of it." She turned to face me, eyes shining. "Move back in. Officially. Lauren's talking about getting her own place with this guy. The house will be ours. We do not have to hide anymore." My heart stuttered. "You mean?" "I mean come home, Ethan. Be with me. Openly. We are not doing anything wrong, not really. Not anymore." I said yes before she finished the sentence. Lauren moved out that summer. Sarah and I turned the house into ours, new paint, new furniture in the master bedroom, her things mixed with mine. Neighbors assumed we were just a blended family saving money by sharing the house. We let them assume. We built a life. Quiet dinners. Weekend hikes in the Olympics. Lazy Sundays in bed. She came to my graduation when I finished my bachelor's in engineering. I was there when she got promoted to office manager. We traveled road trip down the Pacific coast, a week in New York for her 50th birthday. In photos, we looked like any happy couple. Rebecca and Daniel visited once. They met Sarah, thanked her for raising their son so well. There were tears, long talks. Rebecca pulled Sarah aside one afternoon. "I see how you look at each other. I am just glad he is loved." Sarah cried that night in my arms. "She knows," she whispered. "Maybe she does," I said, "and she is okay with it." We never told anyone else. We did not need to. What we had was ours, private, precious, born from loneliness and transformed into something enduring. Now, in January 2026, I am 26. Sarah is 50. We woke up this morning to snow, rare for Seattle, and stayed in bed half the day, watching it fall past the window. She is asleep beside me now, breathing soft and steady, one hand resting on my chest. I think back to that afternoon I walked in on her, cucumber in hand, face flushed with private need. I think of the darkness that brought us together, the revelation that set us free. I think of the man who raised me, whose memory we both honor in our own way. Love does not always come neatly wrapped. Sometimes it arrives messy, forbidden, painful. Sometimes it heals wounds you did not know you had. Sarah stirs, murmurs my name in her sleep, pulls me closer. I kiss her forehead and close my eyes. Outside, the snow keeps falling, blanketing the world in quiet white. Inside, we are warm. Together. Home.